That Dallas does, but not
Let's get it. This is Eternal Underground production.
Support Reach.
I know what it is, man. You're now tuned in to the Hodge Podge Sports Show, where the picks on target sharper than Katniss Everdeen with a crossbow. Before you place a bet, let's check with Patrick and Sean first. Unless your aim is that, highly advised. Check the stores first. Forget the mother stations, we got you covered. Don't waste your time. Ain't no need to straddle the fence. Now you can take a side with competition where you think a gazelle could take a line. If you in opposition, just listen. They will change your mind. This is where you catch it, man. And every show a banger like Ray Lewis at the quarterback. I don't know if you got a topic or we'll address it. God, don't come on here talking that nonsense and don't know nothing. No hesitation, get put in your place. End the discussion. Ain't no shit coating over here, keep it 100. Got a question, we gon' come with the answer like Irish. If you ain't know then, you know now just what time it is. Sean, reppin' the city of brotherly love. Philly stand up, Super Bowl 52 champions. Baltimore in the building, make some noise for us. Pack got Charm City on his back, putting on for the like Rippin' Junior back with the Orioles. And he's spoken bound to dive into this knowledge room. He's comical to follow it. Shout out to you. Without you, this ain't possible. You rock with us, we rock with you. I love us, I love you. Much love to the fan base and follow the fan base. It's deeper than sports talk. It's something like family. Ever and be more. Let's get you a crab cake. Oh, you in Philly, say less. Grab you a cheesesteak. Now run and tell the sports fanatics that you know online. Tune in every weekend when we going live. Tune in every weekend when we going live. Yeah, y'all know what time it is, man. HPS. Let's get it. Let's get it. You're tuned in.
Support Reach.
Cause sports breed passion. Ain't no better place to let it out than right here on HPS, where we never stop. Never stop. Never stop.
What's up, party people? What's happening? Welcome to the Hodge Podge Sports Show. I am Patrick Hodge, Baltimore, Maryland. I got my main man, Danny Spalding, on the phone line out there in Oklahoma. What's up, Danny?
What up?
Not much, baby, not much. Lots to talk about tonight, boy. Let's talk about my main man, my partner in crime, Sean James Harrison. He will be here later on. But again, Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website, arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience at your favorite sports venue. Arena Eats mobile app. You can pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Woo, man. Hodge Podge Sports presented by NGSC Sports, where we never stop. Man. Oh, live. Boy, we got a lot to talk about tonight, Danny. Boy, we got to talk about Josh Allen. Is he are we sleeping on him? Is he a legitimate early season MVP candidate? Let's talk about LeBron on the verge of winning his fourth final. Anthony Davis getting his first ring. How huge he's been in this playoff run. How the Lakers have just looked so good here, and coming off the Denver series into this one, like they found their stride after that. They got past Portland there. To me, it seems like they just been clicking. It seems like it didn't matter who they were going to match up in the final. I think that they were going to be the team to beat there. They're playing good ball. You know, they have some spurts, but they don't look so good. Like I was kind of wondering what the heck Danny Green was shooting at last night, man. Like, did this jump shot just go away? But we can talk about that. We can talk about that later. We're gonna talk about Doc Rivers hiring. Was he the right hire for the Sixers? We're gonna make our Week 4 NFL picks. We're gonna talk about the state of college football, man. A couple upsets today. The Dogs are just rolling up Auburn right now, 24-zip. I think Auburn's driving right now. Give a big shout out to the Tampa Bay Lightning for getting that Stanley Cup. That was exciting as well. We're going to talk about the latest COVID outbreak. Obviously, we got to talk about that and the ramifications going forward. And we obviously know this won't be the last one that we see, right? So hopefully the NFL can learn from this and get a good plan in place moving forward on how they're going to deal with this. I think the season is in jeopardy, honestly. I really do. And then anything else you guys want to talk about, man, please give us a call. The number's scrolling, 712-770-4160, 576-0441. Hey, do us a favor, man. We did a thing the other day. I got to give a big shout out to Dex, Danny, Peyton Jones for helping me get the YouTube channel set up. So go out there and look us up on YouTube, Hodge Podge Sports Show. Subscribe to the channel. Trying to do some things here. I'll put the link up and have that scrolling around as well. What's up, Phil Small? What's happening, man? Jeff Moyer, Brian Jones, man. What's happening, fellas? Talk to me. Put something in the comments and we'll get going. Danny, I'll throw it to you, man. Is there anything that you want to start talking about?
No, I think that's a good lineup. I'm just going to roll with you.
Yeah.
Take your lead.
Yeah, right. Kind of funny because the guy that is in charge of setting the show up is late tonight. He sent me these topics early in the week, and it was good because we really want to be able to touch on the Carson Wentz situation too, man. How that's gonna happen, because there must have been just too much sports on last week, because there was hardly anybody out here rolling with us. Like, I know you weren't feeling well, so I'm glad you're able to be on with us tonight. But he had some very interesting takes on the Carson Wentz situation. It was a beautiful conversation. I know Kevin Dixon told me he's gonna call in, so I'm shouting him out. Let's get it on, man. I'm ready to go. My chops is ready. I'm lathered up. You know what I mean? Got the spotlight. Let's do this, man. But so let's talk NBA Finals, right? I think that's the easiest thing to talk about, the low-hanging fruit at the point, because would you agree it's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point, the outcome?
Yeah. I would probably call it a gentleman's sweep, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was an actual legit sweep.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say, though, that I was impressed with last night was that it was a 10-point game, right? I will give the Heat is they're definitely not mailing it, and nor should they, right? I'm not suggesting that they should mail it in, but it was nice to see them play, right? And what's funny for me, Danny, when in situations like this, when other players get hurt, you see other players step up and play. I always wonder, where are these guys at? Like any other time, like Leonard, right? Like, why are they not getting any run? Like, those dudes are out there hitting shots, and doing what they were supposed to do, right? Next man up. They showed up. They played, right? But it's just funny to me how that works, right? So it's like, okay, now we're getting that Dragic and Bam. They're listed, I think, is doubtful for the moment, right? It's a big deal, but let me just get this out the way now, Danny, because you know where I'm eventually going to take this, right? So when they hoist that trophy up either Tuesday or next Thursday, one of those days, right? Brian Jones is telling me that it's over Tuesday, right? It's going to be the NBA fixed it. They rigged it, right? They did something so the Lakers didn't have to meet the Clippers, right? And something happened where that the Bucks couldn't get in there or the Celtics couldn't get in there, so they put the Heat in there, and then all these injuries happen. So it doesn't count. It's pandemic. Like. Nobody's going to give. I'm not even going to talk about 23, right? Nobody is going to give the Lakers credit here, right? Outside of the announcers calling the series and the people in LA, right? And I'm just going to say it right now. That's unjust. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's your take on that?
Like, I can see both sides. I think this year, this is kind of like the least excited I've been to watch an NBA Finals or even the playoffs, really. It was just such a weird year to begin with. This doesn't really feel like an actual playoff. It just feels kind of more like a tournament to me, like a mid-season tournament or something. mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, the Lakers made it. They beat who they were supposed to beat. Why not give them credit for winning it all? I don't think the NBA has done anything like rigging it because, I mean, we watched the Clippers. It looks terrible. Sure did. They're blowing leads. They just did look good. So I don't know why you would think they would, for some reason, why they would show up and play the Lakers when they can barely, play whoever. Who did they play? Anyways, yeah, I just think it's one of those weirds. I think you're right where you're going to have people put an asterisk this year, and I'll probably go ahead and say, yeah, it's an asterisk type of year. But whoever wins it deservedly won it. There's no question about that.
Okay. Lou, what's happening, man? I see you out there on the line. What's happening, man?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you really can put an asterisk on it because, that would be reserved for, strikes and lockout years when it was their own fault. Nobody is to blame for this. So I wouldn't really, put an asterisk on it. Whoever wins, won it fair and square. I mean, other than that, I mean, it is a weird season, and with football now in full play, nobody's really paying attention like NBA and NHL. So that's another factor right there. I mean, 2020 has been a weird year altogether. But, this, under the circumstances, I mean, there was really not much they can do. They did what they did. They got the mission done. And, I commend it for that.
No, I get that. And so let me be clear on my end. When I'm talking about the asterisk, I think that's what the critics are going to say. The critics are going to say, "Oh, it's an asterisk season." I personally don't believe there should be an asterisk because I think there will be no tougher time to win a championship than this year in all sports, right? Like Danny, I'm really excited and happy for the Tampa Bay Lightning that they finally got that championship. There's probably 2 years coming, but the way that they were able to do it, you know what I mean? Like in that environment, in the bubble, right? To get it, I think it was great. But Danny, I think it's funny, in an ironic sense that you said that I don't know if you meant the whole NBA playoffs or if you mean but these NBA finals have a different feel than the playoff game, right? And I don't know if it's just because of matchup, right? Because Miami, Boston was good, right? All the series that Denver played in were good because they just didn't give up and they just came back. So I don't know if it's kind of like like that Super Bowl feel, like when you get a lesser matchup on the Super Bowl, so the Super Bowl doesn't feel like the Super Bowl, right? If the finals just don't feel like the finals because of the matchup, and then we're all Jimmy Butler fans, right? Like we just like what that guy does to a team and what he brings, right? But then when the injuries happen, right, do you lose that much for the finals because it's like, okay, right? We've been here before. We know the Lakers are the better team coming in. We definitely know they're the better team now, right? With the injuries that the Heat have suffered, they're still going to play. They, like you said, they might get one, right? I don't know because for people to talk about the lack of killer instinct, from one player, I just don't think that you're going to see that in the next two games. I think they're going to want to get this thing over with. And I think a lot of it has to do though with getting out of the bubble, right, Danny and Lou? Like I think the sense of urgency will be there to get this thing finished so they can get home, right? Like Danny, you and I, well, Lou too. We're in our hockey. We like our hockey. That was one of the things that Tampa was saying, right? And you could see it in them. Like they were like, let's get this, let's close this out. Let's not let this drag on. We want to get out of this bubble, right? And the thing why I'm praising the NHL so much, on top of being a hockey fan, is that there was that narrative out there that teams are packing it in. Like that's what they were saying about the Capitals. Oh, they didn't want to be there. Boston didn't want to be there. But you see all those teams that were fighting back in their series, though, man. Like they got down, they came back. Like the Tampa Boston series, couple overtime games, right? Same thing with Colorado. Look what Philly did. Philly was able to get to a game 7. Those guys, they were in it. The Stanley Cup is the hardest championship to win out of the major sports anyway. And then you throw these conditions on top of that. It was just ridiculous at the quality of hockey that we got, right? Like, for me, I was...
Well, what'd you expect?
Well, you don't know what to expect in this, right? Because there could have been some guys that were out there laying an egg. You're like, you know what? Let's call it out. Like Tuukka Rask, right? He mailed it in. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to go. He ended up leaving, right? So there could have been more players that did that, right? But what I'm saying is, because I asked Danny, I was like, Dan, are you watching any of these hockey games? Danny's like, man, I keep forgetting that they're on, but I got to catch them. I'm like, I am watching all of these games, right? Because there was not one matchup that was not entertaining. Like, it was good from the start to the beginning. The round robin, the play-ins, they were all good quality hockey. And as the rounds went, the levels went, right? And I think that to wrap it, I think that's what we're seeing here. I think the same thing was happening in the NBA bubble. I think, when they played those 8 games, it was like, okay, yeah, it's like a glorified AAU tournament or a pickup tournament, like a glorified All-Star games. But then when the playoffs came, the intensity ratcheted up, right? The coaches were making their adjustments. The players were doing what they could do. And then now we get to this final, and it's like, man, here it is, right? Hey, Kathy. Hey, Jade, what's happening? What's up, Sean? What's up, Lou? Don, what's happening? Hope you're feeling better out there. Let me go back. Leroy Woods. So let me think a couple things here. Brian Jones is calling it. He's like, it's over on Tuesday. The Lakers are winning it. Shane Harrison asked, do you think Jimmy is regretting leaving Philly now? No, I don't think Jimmy Butler is regretting his decision. And why should he? Philly got bounced, right? They got bounced 4-0. He's playing. He's still playing and has a chance for the championship, right? That's, if anybody has any regret, that's Philly. That's Philly management, right? He didn't get along with Brett Brown. He didn't want to play for Brett Brown. Philly put a mandate on him that that they were going to let him. They didn't want him taking any other offers as a free agent. So that's on Philly, man. They got all the regret right there, right? So let me go to the next one. Brian Jones. This is a bad matchup. Miami was built to win the East. Lakers were built to win it all. Okay, dive into that a little bit, Brian. I'm not really sure. What do you mean that the Heat were meant to win the East, but the Lakers were built to win it all? I think so. I'm just going to push back to you on that a little bit to keep this conversation going. I think when you put a team together, the ultimate goal is to win the championship, right? Your first goal is, all right, maybe let's win the division, let's get in. But once we get in, let's go for it. So expand on that for me a little bit. All right, so Jay Brock, LeBron is the most dominant player in these playoffs, period. Jimmy Butler is good, but not on that level. Yes, they want to end it in 4. I'll be stunned if Miami gets 1. All right. LeBron has intentions from when he left, and he had a killer instinct from the mentorship of Pat Riley. So the sweep is going to happen. All right. So let's talk about that, because there's a little underlying feud here that I really wasn't aware of. And Danny and Lou, I'm not sure if you are as well, but there's a little thing going on between Pat Riley and LeBron James here, right? They're not getting along, I guess, or they don't get along, or something like that. And I guess it goes back to when LeBron left, right? Because I know Pat Riley wasn't happy when he left. So I guess there's still some ill will there. So I'm not really sure that LeBron James is the kind of player that needs any other outside motivation, but that could be another reason, Danny, Lou, that you're going to see this thing end in 4. What do you guys got on that?
Before the injury for Bam Bam and whatnot, I was looking at this as a 6-game win for the Lakers. But since those injuries, and they were pretty substantial, now I see the Lakers doing it in a sweep. I think by Tuesday, Lakers will be crowned champions. Well, I had the Lakers to win anyway. Of course, I had the Lakers going up against the Celtics, but that didn't turn out so well. No.
So Danny, what do you got on that?
And I had the Lakers.
Go ahead, Luke. Keep going. Well, Danny can get in when you finish. He's letting you go.
I had the Lakers and the Clippers in the conference finals. Of course, that didn't work out, and Rivers got the boot after that, which I think I knew was going to happen, even though some people think, oh, it was a premature firing, you should have got one more year. Look, you're trying to get to the next level. You haven't done with the Clippers. They were counting on you. You just didn't get the job done. That's why you got the boot. The Clippers staff just ran out of patience with you. But luckily, you got a job with the 76ers. We'll do it with that one.
All right. Danny.
What's up?
What do you think about this Pat Riley LeBron James feud? For a little tiff.
I don't know. Doesn't it seem kind of like it's a recurring theme with LeBron and some head coach? Yeah, I think the only coach that he actually got along with that I can remember is his Miami coach, Spolster.
Right.
But it seemed like every other coach that he had before or after that there was always rumors that he got spats with, or they never agreed with anything. I don't know. Maybe there's nothing to it. Maybe they are just rumors, but it seems like this is the first time. This isn't the first time that it's come up.
No,
maybe
it's not. It's not, and he's a product of his environment. But I think this goes back to anybody out there that's in the live feed, whether on our YouTube channel or in one of our Facebook groups. Please correct me if I'm wrong, or shed some more light on the situation. I believe it's more surrounding when he left Miami to go back to Cleveland. I think Pat Riley never really got over it. Right.
Right.
So I think that's where it's coming from. Yeah, and so. The only coach that I know that LeBron really, really didn't get along with was with David, right? Like that's the one that I know he got fired, right? But when you're coaching a talent like this, you're gonna have this, right? Because look, Michael like Phil Jackson, but they didn't always get along, right? Phil Jackson didn't always get along with Kobe either, right? So when you have those type players, that's to be expected, right? So it's I don't know. To me, I guess sometimes you just think some things should just be let go. I mean, dude's been far removed from Miami for how long now? You know what I mean? You've gotten that team back up to where it was when he was there. What's the point? I mean, if you want to beat them, so be it. I get that, but I don't know. Again, it's just more things that are put on this young man's plate that everybody will blame on him instead of looking at the whole picture, right? For me, that's just for me. You know what I mean? Because I can't say too much. Yeah, that's what Brian Jones was telling me. He's like, Riley never got over it because he was under the impression that LeBron was coming back to the Heat, and that's why I kind of thought that's where it goes. So, guys, I have a question up on the screen. I don't know if either one of you can see it, but I'll ask you this, and then we'll keep this rolling. MVP's final race or championship more entertaining at this point? Danny, I'll take you first. What's more entertaining at this point? The race for the final MVP between AD and LeBron, or the finals itself?
Honestly, neither really moved the needle for me. I guess it would have to be the finals MVP because you kind of already know the outcome of who's going to win the series. So there's more of a competition between AD and LeBron than there is the Lakers and Miami.
Lou, what about you?
I would have to agree with that because, like you said, I think the Lakers are not going to blow this lead, 2-0 with all the years that's happening to them. So I think the race for MVP is going to be more intriguing.
Okay. All right. So again, anybody that's like that. So I got another guy typing in the comment asterisk right now. That's funny coming from this guy because he's a LeBron hater, right? Known LeBron hater. So I'll just ask this question to you, Mr. Hater. Name any championship in any sport that was achieved under these conditions. If you can tell me a time in any sport where a team won a championship under the conditions that all sports are going through this year, I'll tip my hat to you. And as the kids like to say, I'll wait. Right. So with this being said, right, Danny, did you see or did you hear Kyrie Irving's comments yesterday?
I think I saw them passing.
Lou, did you hear these comments or see these comments?
No, I didn't.
All right. So that's what I'm talking about, Jay Brown. That's what I'm talking about, Brian Jones. Exactly. We'll sit here and wait because it never happened. So Kyrie Irving made the comment on Kevin Durant's podcast the other day, talking about he feels good about those two being teammates because he now has somebody at the end of the games that can hit a shot like he can, right, to close out, right? Then he goes on to say, he's like, I look at it as, right now we don't have a head coach. You could be the head coach. I could be the head coach. It's more of a collaboration. Steve Nash was a great player. He's even a better person, but I don't look at it as him being the coach, right? We got Jack Vaughn here. It's going to be more of a collaboration. So now that you've heard the paraphrase version of those comments, what did you take away from that, Danny Spalding? Everybody's going.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a little shady. Wasn't there? What did he say? Yeah. Hold on, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're fine.
Didn't he say something along the lines of he feels comfortable now that he's got somebody that can take the shot? Like, isn't that what you just said?
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of find that funny, just because LeBron is really clutch. Like, I don't know how you can't say LeBron isn't clutch. I think he's the type of player that you can depend on him to take that shot if you want to. I do believe that KD is more of a scorer than LeBron. I probably would feel a little bit better about KD taking that shot over LeBron, but still, you shouldn't feel bad for LeBron taking that shot either. So
exactly,
I don't exactly know why he would say that. It seems more along the lines of he's just trying to pump up KD, I guess, but it's a little petty. I'll give him that. It's a little petty.
No, you're exactly right. And to me, it's a lot of petty. But then what do you make about the coaching comment though? Like, I don't feel like we have a head coach. I could be the head coach. You could be the head coach. It's going to be more of a collaboration. How do you feel about that comment? Because to me, that's the worst of the two comments.
Yeah, I've kind of always been in the belief that NBA coaches, like, there's probably only a certain few that I feel like actually coach a team. Other than that, I think they just I kind of feel like they might be just managers or game managers. Whereas the players kind of know their roles and they kind of just go out there and play, I guess. But that's kind of an odd one.
Yeah, no, it's very odd, and it's almost
like he's saying the quiet part out loud.
Right, and it's borderline ignorant if you just break it down, right?
Right.
There was, and what I mean by that is, and Stephen A. Smith said this the other day. Well, I don't want to take all the credit for what I'm about to say, but I totally agree with this. And it's just like there's no player ever that never needed coaching, right? And even if you feel that you don't need coach, that's not something that you want to say right now when you have a new coach coming in and you got a new player coming in. Because to me, what this portrays total combustion to me, right? And what I mean by that is it's like you're already undermining your coach or putting a lot of pressure on your coach before the season even started, right? If you want to take a subliminal shot at LeBron, that's fine, right? Then he did a little video talking about, I wasn't talking about anybody. If I was talking about someone, I would have said their name. Well, you didn't have to say their name when you make a comment like that. And I get it. And I do agree with you that it's more.
Yeah. Everybody knew he was talking.
because here's the thing: if you weren't talking about anyone, you wouldn't have to come out and say you weren't talking, right? So it's kind of like if you know that you didn't do anything wrong, there's no need in you saying you didn't do anything wrong until someone asks you directly if you did something wrong, right? Then that's when you stand up and scream from the mountaintops,
Right.
I didn't do anything wrong. So to immediately come out with a video later talking about why is it always got to be brother against brother? Don't fall for the false narrative. Well, here's the false narrative. The false narrative is you saying that you weren't talking. But I do agree with you, Danny, and go to your line of thinking about it was probably more meant locker room talk, right? About, hey man, I'm glad you're here now. Now I don't have to carry this load by myself. And a little professional jealousy because LeBron and AD are playing for the championship, and those two aren't because they're sitting out nursing
Right.
injuries, right? So I get that. But what I'm saying is, it's like, don't think that you got an easy path, right? Because East is looking pretty sure. Giannis is going to come back to Milwaukee, so Milwaukee's going to get some. Boston's going to be there. Miami's going. Indiana's going to be there. Toronto's going to be there, and Philly's going to be there, right? So, and Brooklyn's going to be there, right? So, Brooklyn is not for me, right? You know me, Danny. To me, it's always to be the champ. You got to beat the champ, right? So it's always going to be Milwaukee. I'm not saying that, but until they take down Milwaukee, and that's what it's going to be. But again, it's
they got to prove it.
Yeah. It's just oh man, do you see that, Danny? Sorry, breaking news: the police had to clear out the student section at the SMU game due to COVID concerns. Just popped up. So I think it's just one of those things, right, where you like Kyrie. You know what, man? You're a little bit of a different dude. Like, you think differently, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're a pretty smart guy. You just think about things differently, and you don't really care about what the media thinks, things like that. And that's great. Just play. Just like this, whatever it is you got to say or whatever it is you want to show. Just show it by playing. You know what I mean? So the comments to me were odd, right? And then I like what LeBron said. LeBron's like, we got no jealousy here. Everybody knows their role. Everybody wants to support one another here and see everybody succeed. And he didn't have to say any name, right? Because that's just a general statement, and that's how you carry yourself. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, there you go, propping up LeBron and this and that. It's just a fact, man. That it is what it is. Like the numbers prove how much better things were when Kyrie and LeBron were together than Kyrie by himself, right? And he hasn't proved to be a difference maker on his own yet, right? Because he hasn't done anything on his own, right? He won a championship with LeBron. Yes, he hit the shot, but they were together, right? He goes to Boston. He didn't do anything. He gets to the playoffs, but Boston made it further in the playoffs without him than they did with him. Now, this year in Brooklyn, he didn't do anything, and he got hurt. So we didn't, we'll say that. So now he's got arguably the best player to come play with him, right? I mean, we can talk about that. I mean, that dude's definitely in the conversation. It's like you say, he's a matchup nightmare, and he plays both ways, right? And you got to see him up close for years, right? You got to see him grow, so you know how good he is, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he's still got that injury.
Yeah, he does. And that's always going to follow him around because he's like, he's just kind of like Aaron Judge or Mike Stanton, right? Or Ben Roethlisberger. At some point they're going to get hurt. It's just a matter of when, right? So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Don't know how good he's going to come back from that injury.
Yeah, and he's so good, right? I mean, I'm not taking away from Kyrie. Yeah. He's so good, right? So just to wrap, just to circle back on some things here. Kyrie is still chewing on sour grapes because LeBron left him in Cleveland. He's a crybaby, but notice how Boston fell with him and made the East Finals with a higher seed without him. Back. Jay Brock. The Nets were going to be the favorite until this goofball made the comments about the coach. He's going to lose KD and his team. He's jealous of LeBron and will never win another. The Sixers and the Celtics are loving it. Poor Steve Nash. MJ needed a coach. Peak Tiger Woods needed a coach. This guy doesn't. Shaking my head. And all comments from Jay Brock. And that's kind of what we touched on, right? Like, there's never been a player or a team that didn't need some type of coaching, right? So it is what it is.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Let me get back on this Bills. Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experiment at your favorite sports venue. Arena Eats mobile app. Pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Man, so you're right. You're right. We did have a really good lineup, man. Because as we stay on the NBA, right? This was fascinating on different levels, right? How this worked out. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about Doc Rivers, right? About how he's the only coach to blow 3-1 leads, right? And Sean and I thought that he would get fired, right? We were kind of waiting for him to get fired, right? And Sean thinks he's overrated, and I took the stance that that he's a pretty good coach and he had done a lot. But then when we started getting into it, kind of had to go with Sean on it. But then as we keep going, I'm still not going to say that he's not a good coach, but the underachievements are there, right? They're documented. But there have been more coaches that have been swept that have lost 3-1 leads, right? So flip that, right? So you have to be doing something right to get 3 wins, right? In a series.
Right.
All right. There's been more coaches that have been swept in their playoff series more than once, right? Than what has happened to him. So there's a couple ways of looking at it. Right? So where I'm going, right? New coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, right? Just like Mike D'Antoni was going to be the next coach of the 76ers. Lo and behold, the Clippers let Doc Rivers go on Monday. Dude's in Philadelphia on Wednesday. Thursday night, Friday, he gets an offer. Today, it's official. He's announced as the next coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, right? Lou, you brought up Doc Rivers earlier, so I'm going to go to you first. So, are you a fan of this hire or no? And if I
wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I mean, the Sixers weren't looking out for him, so but I don't see a team that was mediocrity last year that was really such a good move. So I think it wasn't really such a smart move for them to take for him to go there. I mean, I think you want to play for like a more contending team. And although the Sixers, didn't make the playoffs last year, they were far from really being any contenders. They're more like pretenders instead of being contenders. So I think it was a bad move for Doc. But hey, they want him. Congratulations. Well, he's your problem now.
So you're saying Doc Rivers is the problem? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, he's the Sixers' problem. He's the Sixers' problem. I didn't say that Doc Rivers was actually the problem. I think the Sixers now have the problem.
With him, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying that he's going to be the problem on the Sixers?
Okay, yeah, with him, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. That's that. Okay, that's true.
No worries. So you also said that the Sixers.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Just want to be clear, so that way when I come back at you, that I'm clear. So
I meant for him.
Yeah, no, I got you. So
I'm going to try for him.
You're saying that that the Sixers were looking out for him. Is that what you said as well?
Yes.
Okay. What do you mean by that they were looking out for him?
Well, I mean, at the general meetings, that was like their prime candidate. Also, I think Tyronn Lue, but I don't know if it would be the right either because he's a pretty sick man, and I don't know if that'd be a right move because you had to monitor him a lot. And I think he also has maybe working on a deal with the Pelicans, so I would think we would scratch that out. Okay. But they were really looking out for Doc, and they may think it's a great deal, but I'm not so sure. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens next season. I may have to eat my words. It's going to be the first time.
Okay. So why do you feel that he's not the right guy for the job? Because you're not alone in thinking that, but why do you feel that way?
What, you mean Lou or
Doc? Doc.
Well, like I said, I think Doc wants to, move up. I don't know if he goes up the Sixers. I don't really know who would go up the Sixers this year. I mean, they were like a tale of two different teams. I mean, Doc does have the experience, but I just don't know if he would be the right guy for the job.
Okay. All right. Danny, where you at on this?
I mean, I don't really care what the Sixers do because I don't think it's any secret that I don't like the Sixers. So I thought maybe it's one of the better spots he could have ended up at. He's just a big name coach. He doesn't have a great track record when it comes to the playoffs. So I don't understand why he gets all the hype that he does. But he is still a good coach, and I think it might be a good fit. Maybe the Sixers kind of underperformed this year. The Clippers really underperformed this year. So maybe the two can get together and just try to find a common ground and, try to prove to the league that, they are for real. Like, we're not just out here pretending, like Lou said.
I got you. Yeah.
But we're here for business. And, I think maybe the change of scenery with Doc would help him a little bit better. I feel sorry for him because if he loses, Philly fans are they're just going to roast him.
Well, I think I'll say this, and I'm going to dissect this because I've been doing a lot of research. Because so the thing that was fascinating to me is that they were set to hire Mike D'Antoni. That was the guy. Mike D'Antoni was going to be the guy, right? And that never made sense to me. And I say it never made sense to me because I think that, like you said, Danny, I think that you have to find a guy that can work with what you have instead of bringing someone in that's trying to change what you have. If that makes sense. And we know that's what D'Antoni is about. Like, he's going to get them to blow up the roster, so to speak, and be able to put the ball in the basket. But then that might take away some of their defensive philosophies that they have because they already have natural defense. Ben Simmons, all NBA defense team. Joel Embiid, he plays D. Thibault plays D. Like, they play D already. So I don't know. I don't know if you thought that if you brought MDA in, if those natural instincts would just carry over, there. Now, there is still some roster construction that needs to happen in Philly. That goes without saying, right? And you still need to get your two superstars to play at the superstar level, right? So meaning, and we know this, right? It's not that Ben Simmons can't shoot. It's that he won't shoot, right? Like, we can't say if this kid can or cannot shoot until he does shoot, right? So we need someone that's going to be able to get through to him how much more effective he could be by just taking, right? And we need somebody that's going to be able to talk to Lee to get him to use his strengths, right? Like, you want to take some threes, that's fine. But when it's crunch time, big fella, we need you down that block. We need you to be able to take over the game for them last 4 minutes, right? Because then that's when the NBA goes back to being what we know. You go to the matchups that work, and then you do work, right? So I'll say this as well. However the Sixers go, it's not, and it should not be all on Doc Rivers' shoulders, right? Now, you're talking about a coach that has like the 11th wins, the 11th most wins all time of somebody in the playoffs. So playoff success is there, right? Now, he's got one championship too. That's one more than a lot of other coaches have. But recent success, we can't leave that out either, Danny. Like, we just can't bring up the good stuff without talking about the bad, right? So, right. So that needs to be talked about as well. And I'm not skipping over that by no means. But everywhere he's been, he's made an improvement. Year one, starting from year one, he's increased his team's win total, right? So I feel like this: when you're going into the city of Philadelphia, you have to have that Philadelphia mentality, right? And I think where he's going to excel is that he's from the Midwest, right? Dr. J was his idol growing up. That's how he's got the name. He's been in the East, right? He coached with Boston, so he knows that landscape. I think he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable going back there as well. I mean, think about this, right? I mean, he could have picked the job that he wanted, right? I think Houston wanted to hire him. You think New Orleans wanted to hire him, right? He chose Philly, right? He got on that plane a day and a half after he lost his job to get this job, right? So that tells you something about what he thinks of what he's going to get in Philadelphia too, right? You have some building blocks. You have you have another player that has played his best basketball underneath of you, which is Tobias Harris, right? So the things that are in his past bode well for the relationship working, right? Like he's had experience with younger players, he's had experience with the star players, right? Now it's up to him to develop a message to get everybody on the same page and go. But that being said, these two guys that we're talking about, right? The two stars on that team have to meet him halfway and then some. Right? They got to buy in too, right? So it's really not all on Doc to get Philly advanced past the first round, right? I mean, come on. 2 years ago, they were a 4 to 7 bounce shot away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So it's there, right? It's there, right? We've seen that. Now it's just about getting them back to where they were 2 years ago and then being consistent, right? Because last year was just garbage. And we all know that at some point there just needs to be a change, right? And it just felt like that Brett Brown wasn't strong enough, right, to get these guys to do what he needed them to do. You know, because listen, it's easy to say, you know, that he's not a good coach. You know, he didn't get them anywhere and this and that. And the head coach has to wear it, just like quarterback at NFL, right? We know it's not on him, but the quarterbacks get all the praise and all the losses, right? And that's kind of how it goes for an NBA coach, right? And it's just like we saw what happened in LA, right? That's not Doc's fault. But as soon as he lost his job, though, or when it was over, he's like, look, put this on me. I take the blame. I take the blame, right? But he's not shooting. Like, listen, he wasn't out there running his mouth saying that we're this and we're that, and then these guys don't perform, right? You know, so at some point, you know, these players got to step up and take responsibility too. But we know it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, when you look at the choices that were out there, I think it was kind of a no-brainer that you had to take him. Tyronn Lue really wasn't going to move the needle, right? Because he's got a championship under his name.
Right.
But other than that, what has he done, right? Mike D'Antoni, he would have been a name, right? They probably would be a lot of fun to watch offensively. But you're talking about a guy who's never even been to the conference finals as a coach, right? So, like, for as much as we want to talk about Doc's lack of playoff success with those 3-1 losses, right? This guy has gotten to a final, right? You know, he's been to the playoffs, right? Like consistently, you know, he's got that pedigree. So he's walking in with the pedigree, I guess is what I'm getting, right? And I think it goes a long way too when you have a guy that played as well. I don't know, especially in the NBA, Danny, that seems to mean a lot, right? When you have a guy that played and then
It does too much, yeah.
it does, right? Because I think then you have to respect where the message is coming from, right? So I think for me with this hire, I think that's how I'm looking at it. And when I'm looking at, like, what kind of experiences is he going to be able to draw off on, and what is he going to be able to pass along to these guys, right? And I wanted the Sixers to get a coach that played or that was a guard, right? Like, I would have loved for them to get Mark Jackson, but that's apparently not going to. I would have loved for them to get Jeff Van Gundy, but they didn't even think about that, right? Like, I think that you need a coach that's built from that ilk, that's not gonna be afraid to get in a player's face and tell them what they need to do, or you just can't play. And I think that's where Brett Brown wasn't strong enough, right? Because how many times did we read or hear him say in the media, yeah, you know, we need Ben to shoot, right? But, you know, Ben still didn't shoot. So what was the message to him, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So it's a good hire, and I think at the end of the day, what you have to look at though, you have to compare him to what's out there, right? And I think that if you would have went in any other direction, I just don't know if that would have been a good thing. I tell you what would be awesome, but I know it won't happen, is if they would have been able to hire Doc and then bring Mike D'Antoni in as his lead assistant and let him run the offense. Now you're getting some serious out of the box thinking, right? But we just don't do that in the NBA, do we? You know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean? But tell me, that. And I was a big fan of Billy Donovan going. Like I would have liked to see him go there because I think he's young enough and with the college basketball experience that he would have been able to talk to these guys a little bit differently. Well,
I think Billy would have been a better hire. Yeah, he has a more defensive mind.
Yeah, I would have like if they couldn't have gotten Doc, my guy would have been Billy D. Like I didn't want D'Antoni. Like I really didn't want Tyronn. That's why I really didn't want them to pick up. I think he would have been. I think he would have been the worst choice out of all. But that being said, that's not a bad thing because they're all good choices. If that makes sense, because they're all good coaches in their own right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't think that whoever they would have picked at the end of the day, Philly fans could have been upset with because you were going to get a quality coach. That we know, right? Like they weren't going to go down the road. They weren't going to take some young hot assistant. They weren't going to take somebody, there. Because I mean, like there's some other names out there that I thought they could have looked at Mike Brown. They could have looked at Fizdale. They could have looked at Alvin Gentry. You know what I mean? There were some other names out there, but here's the thing. And I've been saying this to people, and people just aren't listening to me, or just maybe they're tuning me out. Mike D'Antoni is not being mentioned for any other jobs now. Have you guys noticed that? Are you guys paying attention to this? Like people in looking on the live feed, tell me what job now that Mike D'Antoni is being mentioned. Because Danny, the funny thing about it is, right when Houston was going down in those playoffs, it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to be the next coach of the Indiana Pacers, right? Like these reports were coming out that he was going to be the next coach of the Pacers before the Houston Rockets even got eliminated. Isn't that crazy? Like, and then he decides on the plane ride back. Yeah, he decides on the plane ride back that he's not coming back to Houston. So they mutually agree to part ways, and it was like a foregone conclusion that he was going to Indy, right? And then Philadelphia popped up, right? And then it was like, okay, it's Billy D, Tyronn, and Mike, or the three finalists, right? Billy's like, no, I'm out. I'm going to Chicago, And to me, Philly probably told him it's probably down to Lou and Mike. We don't want you to pass up another job. Chicago called. He's like, yo, I'm in, right? So he takes that, and then you're hearing all these things. Mike D'Antoni. If he comes, he might be able to lure James Harden there, or he might be able to make a trade for James Harden. This and that. Like all these other narratives were out there, right? And it was like, yo, Sixers are letting other teams know that if Mike D'Antoni's hired, they're going to be open to trades to get the roster to be where he wants it to be. And everything that was lost in that shuffle was the thing that Mike D'Antoni came out and said. He came out and said, yo, if I'm fortunate enough to get the Sixers job, I'm not trading Simmons or I'm not trading Embiid. Why would I do that, right? And they got the pieces. What I need to do is build the periphery of the roster, right? But and I kept telling Sean on the side, I'm like, all right, once Doc Rivers flew to Philly for the interview, you knew that was a wrap, right, Danny? Right? Like you're not flying from LA to Philly to interview and not take the job, right? Who's going to do that?
Right.
Exactly. Especially like a day after you were fired. And it came out that he was watching the game with the owners and that, offers coming, boom, fine, great. I expected that Mike D'Antoni was going to be the next coach of the Indiana Pacers, like the same day or the next day. Now you're hearing they're going to interview Chauncey Billups, and they're going to interview this person. Tyronn Lue has interviews set up with Houston and New Orleans, right? And he's the front runner for the Clippers job, right? So it's like, okay, so what happens to Mike? You know what I mean? It's like, was it really Philly or bust for him at this point when everything was pointing him getting the Indiana job? Yeah. And then, going through my research and things like that, it was like people weren't so sure that he wanted the Philly job. Like the Indiana job was the one he wanted, and he was using the Philadelphia interest to get a better offer from Indiana. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I guess all that just to say is just kind of like, man, what happened, right? You know what I mean? And let me say this, right? And I wanted Sean to be here for this, but because I told him I wanted to say this, right? Because there was a lot of backlash when the Nets hired Steve Nash seemingly out of nowhere, right? There was a lot of backlash, like how, like how does this guy get the coach with no coaching experience? There's a lot of minority candidates out there. Was Philly looking at that too? Was Philly thinking maybe it's better to go African American than white? It's just a thought, people. It's just a thought. Y'all can at me all you want on it, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Is that part of the decision making process to where we are, or at the end of the day, he's the best candidate, so you could probably move away from some of that to a point, but it's something that we need to talk about, right? So let me go back to some of these comments, right? Anthony Baltimore was second to you, Lou. Doc is not a problem. Why the Doc bash in? I mean, he did win a ring, yeah, right there, Baltimore. We're ahead of the curve on Doc getting fired. I believe Doc will fix the Embiid Simmons childish behavior. Send Horford to Houston for some shooters, and they're in the mix in the East. Childish meaning Simmons, please shoot the three, and Embiid get in shape and dominate the block, the splash of threes. Brian Jones, D'Antoni would have had them as an 8 seed. Billy D would have been second choice. The other names were good. No D'Antoni anywhere. Pacers are going to go with some assistant. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just not hearing D'Antoni's name mentioned. At the end of the day, to wrap this up, I think it's a good hire, based on what was out there. And I had asked a question the other day, Dan, and this might even have been a better question to you as well, Lou. Was the Sixers job the best job available, right? You have the Clippers job, you have the Pelicans job, you have the Indiana Pacers job, you have, whom I'm missing, the Houston Rockets job, right? So as far as Doc, we can't include him in the Clippers job opening because he just left there, right? So, it's fine to think you got the right candidate or the best candidate, which I really do believe they did, and I think we're all in agreement. Of the choices that were out there, they got the best. They got the best, right, with the best resume and things like that. But again, is their opening the best opening? You know what I mean? And that's probably a loaded question or speculative question, right? Because it's really depending on how you look at it, right? They do have a roster that is supposedly built to win now, right? They can do some things to fix it. Danny, our boy, right? I say our boy because I like this guy, Buddy Hield. Looks like he wants to come to Philly and play, right? So you might not hate Philly as much if he comes there, right?
I'll hate him even more because I want him to come back too.
For those that don't know, Danny and I keep up with Big 12 things happening because my wife is an alum of West Virginia, so I root for them on a lot of fronts. Him and I have had many conversations over the years about this, and he knows how I'm a big Trae Young and Buddy Hield fan. But yeah, but that could be one fix, right? Like they're probably going to try to move Horford's contract, and Sacramento could use him as a center and as a leader. So that's looking like something that might happen. There's another team that might want to take him on and things like that. That was kind of another reason why I thought Billy D would be coming, because he could be reunited with Horford too. Like that thing was making some sense too. You know what I mean? So this kind of funny, man. It's just great because there was a lot happening this weekend. We haven't even talked about the baseball playoffs, man. I guess we'll have to get into that next week because these first rounds were fantastic. These best of 3 series. All right, man. So we'll get up on out of here in a couple minutes, man. We'll get into these picks and then we'll roll. Again, Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience at your favorite sports venue. Arena Eats mobile app. Pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Fellas, before I get to the NFL schedule, is there anything that you guys wanted to touch on?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we have enough time to really do it.
Oh, we got all the time in the world, bro. If there's something you want to talk about, Mr. Spalding, we can. Oh, yeah. If there's something you want to talk about, my man, we can talk about it. We are.
I mean, we can talk about college football.
Well, let's talk about it, bro. Talk about it.
I mean, it is that time of year.
It is that time of year, baby. I mean, I'm sitting here watching Georgia just destroy Auburn. How's Auburn a top 10 team, man? You know,
that's what I want to know.
I'm talking about. You know, for all these SEC fans that we have on our group, you know, that want to pound their chest and talk about other conferences. Talk to me about how Auburn is a top 10 team. Now, I mean, you know, I know Georgia is usually a powerhouse. You know, and they'll choke, they'll get beat by Alabama, and then they'll cry about not making a championship game. You know, blah 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 blah. You know, and this and that. But Florida looks legit. Georgia looks legit. You know, Alabama's out here playing a preseason schedule, doing what Alabama does. But talk to me, man. Yo, I mean, what's happening, man? Like, you know, there were some upsets today, Dan.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
So, like, about the rankings, I wouldn't get too bent out on the rankings right now because remember, I mean, it's the AP poll, which really doesn't matter. And you have a conference, you actually have two conferences that aren't playing right now. So, a lot of these teams that are in the top 25, once the Big Ten starts rolling, I would expect a lot of those rankings. I expect a lot of them to lose their ranking. Like in a normal year, Auburn's not a top 10 team. It might be top 25. But with the Big Ten out of the picture, right now they are a top 10 team because they just don't. They're running out of teams to rank.
Okay. Yeah. And that was going to be my next question, being that everybody hasn't started to play yet. And this, that, and the other, you know, is it like a lot of teams? Because there's some teams that are top 25 for their first time in school history or for a long time, which is kind of good to see. The quality of the games look like they normally do. Like, you know, the all spread offense, everybody's running the same three plays. You know, the wide receiver, you know, the fake handoff and throw the ball deep. You know, and nobody can stop anybody for the most part. So that hasn't changed. The one thing, though, that is different so far that I've seen is that I haven't heard of anybody coming down with a significant injury, right? Like, unlike the NFL, right? You know, guys are dropping left and right in the NFL, but so far there hasn't been really any big name players that haven't gotten hurt. So let's knock on wood and hope that continues. But I think that these college games are just going to get better as they go too. You know, because they're working through some things too. You know, they didn't really get a chance to bring the ball in and things like that. So I think the more as they go, these games will be a lot better. Would you agree there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you still got a lot of players these players didn't get a lot of training off season. You know, a lot of them couldn't go to gyms and get their strength in. A lot of so strength and conditioning coaches were basically having to, you know, work with their players through Zoom and figure out what they've got to work with around their house and create a workout that they can do at their home. So I think a lot of these players are, you know, they're still trying to find their legs. And it's only like, 3 weeks in?
Yeah, 3 weeks in.
So I figure once you get mid-season, you'll probably start seeing you'll start seeing better play. You know, it might take a little bit longer for the Big Ten because they're starting late. SEC just started last week, so it might take them a little bit longer too.
To get into it.
They're not starting until December.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that this is something that we should keep an eye on, and that we'll, you know, like you said, it's that time of year, so, you know, we'll be talking about this every week. But let's get in here and get a couple Sunday picks in, and we'll get out of here. Sound good?
Good.
All right, so let's take this first one, only because it's me and you. Cleveland Browns at the Dallas Cowboys. Who you like in this one?
I want the Browns to win, but I'm taking Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm afraid of the Browns run game. But Dallas has the better quarterback at this point. And I think that might be what it comes down to. Dallas just really needs to put together a good game. So we'll go with them on this one. Let's take this one because there's a lot of chatter about how this could be an upset. And I'm not really sure how people are thinking this way, but let's go Seattle at Miami. A lot of people are thinking that Seattle might lose going to Miami.
I don't know how you lose that game. The only thing I can think of is just it's their time to lose. But yeah, that's not one I see as an upset.
Yeah, me neither.
So
yeah,
I think Seattle's just way too strong for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think Seattle kind of puts that one to bed a little early there. Let's take this one.
Right.
Yeah. Indianapolis versus Chicago. And Chicago's the home team.
I think I got Chicago on this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I got one just because it's Nick Foles.
I forgot. Yeah, you're a Foles fan, man. Yeah. I'm going with Indy.
I am a Foles fan.
Yeah, no. And nothing wrong with that. I'm going with Indy. Defense travels. I like them in this game. And now it'll be a 425 game. So that's really going to be good for both of those teams to get that national exposure. Let's take this game too, man. This is going to be a good one too. Buffalo Bills traveling to Las Vegas. What do you like in this
one? I took this one as an upset. I took the Raiders. I actually don't know if they're favored in that game or not, but I took the Raiders.
They are not favored.
To me, this seems like it would be an opportunity.
Yeah. That's a great call because really, for all intents and purposes, the Bills should have gotten beat by LA, but as karma would have it, LA got hosed on a pass interference call, which to me was great. I'm going with the Bills, though. I think that the Bills are the better team, and if they want to prove that they're for real, this is the game that they got to win. But it would not surprise me if the Raiders were to pull this one. We'll take these last two.
They're a solid team this year.
Yeah, they are. We'll take these last two just because they're on the schedule, but we got Philadelphia traveling to San Francisco for the Sunday night.
Yeah, I got San Francisco on that one. I don't think it's going to be pretty, to be honest.
With the way the Eagles are dropping like flies, I mean they literally have one receiver at practice today. That's just, and Carson Wentz hasn't been Carson Wentz. That Philly thinks that he is. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then we have the Atlanta Falcons at Green Bay on Monday night.
Yeah, I took Green Bay on this one too.
Did you?
I don't think the Falcons have it. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they lose and they fire their head coach.
Yeah, you just have to. And there's chatter out there that the Julio Jones to New England Patriots trade is a done deal. Like I thought that was I saw that. I thought that was some fake meme crap going around, and I asked the guys that follow the team pretty closely, and they're like, "Yeah, it's for real." So that'd be something interesting to keep your eyes on. You at some point Atlanta's got to win a game, and they got to win a game that you think they wouldn't win. I mean, because they've been ahead in every game. I mean, they're a couple plays away from being 3-0. I mean, so they're definitely the best 0-3 team in the league. But I'm not going against Aaron Rodgers in the way that he's playing.
No, not right now, especially in Lambeau. Well, honestly, I guess it really doesn't matter since there's no crowds, but still.
Yeah. Definitely can't get out. All right, man. Well, it's been fun. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, man. And we'll get back on this thing next week for sure.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate hanging out with me.
Oh, man. No problem, man. You know how we do. So we're going to get up on out of here, man. And I will talk to you next week. Hopefully, Sean will be back in the fold with us so we can get him going because I'm sure he's hating missing this conversation tonight. But I think he worked today, so he couldn't be on with us. So let's just get up on out of here, and then we'll be back here same time, same channel next week.
She's Hate to be the bear bad news, but the show's over. Hope you enjoyed it. We can sit and debate and go back and forth all day long. Shout out Serena Williams. Ain't another place to hold it down like the way that we hold it down. Won't hesitate to bet my last on it. You ain't know it then, bet you know it now. Pat and Sean with the dynamic duo on the best show around. Reverse 360 windmill. Vince Carter when we put it down. You're now rocking with the major leagues. Show be hitting like Mike Trout. These other guys trying to ride the wave, but not the day they get wiped out. Cause we on a whole nother level than them. They follow the trends, we the one that set them. Later smacked them like Stone Cold, and that's the bottom line until we study something. These lame stations ain't saying nothing. They just talk to hear their voices something. No better place to come vibe out the Hot Spot Sports Show. Keep that heat coming like Palomalo in the backfield. Relax, chill, everything covered. When we move full head of steam, please off the track when the train coming. Want to thank y'all for tuning in. A good time, what it's all about. Hope to catch y'all here next week. Same time, we'll be zoning out. And we encourage you to call. Be opinionated, bring it on. Just make sure that you're ill prepared and come hard and not at all. Verbal warfare, talking sports here. Ding, ding, let's get it on. And unless you stay in stats, you ain't saying jack. Keep calm and carry on. 24 on that jersey. Feeling something like Kobe with a few seconds on that game clock. Down two, but who worry? Throwing L's to the competition. It make me sick to see us winning. Black Mamba mentality. See it better than me and go get it. Yeah. You already know how we do, man.
You already know how we do, Ted.
Hey, yo, Sean, what up? Hey, yo, Pat, what up? Want to thank y'all for tuning in, man. High Spot Sports Show, baby.
Peace. We'll see y'all next week.